Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution with current breaking news, culture, medic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. And make no mistake, that's exactly what's happening. But it is a peaceful revolution after all. Anyways, interesting news coming out of England. Of course, we connect the dots for you guys, but it looks like Bank of England, in conjunction with the British government, is trying to stop the adoption of Bitcoin in the UK, in England. We have all the receipts for you guys as always. We'll try to paint the picture. And of course, we have an amazing guest, personal friend of mine and host of One Love Bitcoin. He's launching his own YouTube channel. We brought him on the show today to talk about just that. I want to bring Bobo Dread up. How you doing, bro?
Yo, how you doing, guys? Good to see you. Good to see you, man.
Happy to have you on the show, man. Love our conversations every time we chat. And of course, my legendary co-host, always optimistic, my living truth, also known as Optimus Fields. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I am doing good. We're hanging with one of the coolest Bitcoiners that I know. So this is going to be a great show. And then also, Nico, we're streaming right now to Nostr as well as Twitter Spaces. So in conjunction, we're in everywhere at once. So shouts out to producer Jacob for hooking us up right now. I guess I'll figure out how to do all the technical stuff later. But we're on Nostr right now. So let's go.
That's badass, man. We're on Nostr. I'm really excited. You know what? Initially, I'll be honest with you guys, I ignored Nostr for quite a bit, but then I saw the magic and I signed up and I got super excited, and then I started getting zapped, and holy cow, is that really, really, really cool. Anyways, everybody, let's start the show. Let's do this.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Brought to you by NODL. At this point, you should be running your own Bitcoin node. If you don't use your own Bitcoin node, you're trusting someone else's. Run your own version of Bitcoin Core, the Lightning Network, Whirlpool, and Dojo, all from the comfort of your own home. And if you're a digital nomad, you have absolutely no excuse, because now you can run a NODL through a virtual private server. Visit nodl.eu today. All right, everybody, I want to tell you about the biggest Bitcoin conference in the world, Bitcoin 2023. It's going to be hosted in sunny Miami Beach, Florida. You don't want to miss it. And you could use the promo code all caps simply to get a big discount to Bitcoin 2023. Let's check out some of the speakers. It's going to be absolutely crazy. And we have to read this every single day because they add new speakers every single day. Anyways, Michael Lewis, Arthur Hayes, Michael Saylor, Jack Mahlers, Casey, creator of Ordinals, Alex Gladstein, Preston Pish, Stacy Herbert, Greg Foss, Corey Clipston, Matt Odell, Lynn Alden, and many, many more. Like I said, you can take advantage of the promo code simply to get 10% off Bitcoin 2023. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $23,245. Sats per dollar, 4,302. Block height, 778,998. Reachable Bitcoin nodes, 15,599. Blocks to the halving, 61,002. Halving estimates, April 22nd, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity, 5,201 Bitcoin. Capacity value, 126 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation, 1.76%. And the market capitalization of Bitcoin, 448 billion US dollars. In the grand scheme of things, Bitcoin is still a baby. Anyways, I want to play you a clip of an executive from Block, Jack Dorsey's company, and she was on CNBC, and they were asking about the revenue of the last year, what she had to say about it. And she also did something quite funny, which I think is a metaphor in all this. Anyways, let's check it out.
About Bitcoin, you have, I think, about $1.83 billion as of Q4 in terms of revenue, down 7%. You also have Bitcoin on your balance sheet. How much is there right now?
Over $130 million of Bitcoin on our balance sheet as of the end of the year, with a fair market value being above that. Look, ultimately for us, this is a long-term, potentially transformational initiative to build utility into the Bitcoin ecosystem. We believe the internet needs a currency that will help bring down inefficient costs in the system that exists right now, particularly for underserved consumers around the world and in emerging markets. So our focus here is on the ways in which we can help build resilience utility into the Bitcoin ecosystem, but we're doing that in a disciplined way.
Dude. I mean, is this the normalization? Opti's laughing. Is this the normalization of Bitcoin? I mean, Bobo, you've been here for a little bit, and so have we. I don't think we could have ever imagined this type of conversation on the legacy corporate media like that. So what's your take on that?
I agree. I mean, there's been many points in time where we've seen a paradigm shift in the way people think about it and and what we expect. It happened first when large corporations like MicroStrategy started buying. It happened again when entire nations like El Salvador started to paying attention and making it legislation. And now we're seeing it in places like the mainstream media where people are actually giving out recommendations for the long-term strategies for Bitcoin and not just doing it themselves. So I really feel these paradigm shifts are going to continue and it's going to become more normalized, man.
100%. I completely agree with that statement. It's going to continue. Michael Saylor and Nayib Bukele are going to be vindicated next halving. You cannot deny Bitcoin at that point. You know, a lot of the detractors right now, you heard the CNBC host talking about, hey, you know, losses in revenue. Obviously, it's a bear market. People aren't as, number go up is, the biggest allure for people that are not in Bitcoin, right? They want to jump on that. That's one of the geniuses of Satoshi Nakamoto. So yeah, in like I was saying about Michael Saylor and Nayib Bukele, right now, you know, everyone could make fun of them. Everyone could criticize them because, on paper, their Bitcoin investments are down. But the question that I would have for anybody listening right now or watching is, you most likely did not get in Bitcoin at the right time. Most likely, the vast majority of people got in the run-up of the bull market, and they get absolutely wrecked and humbled. We call it the price of tuition on the show. And Michael Saylor and Nayib Bukele are paying their price of tuition. That's the beauty of Bitcoin, is that everyone's the same. Everyone's equal. You got to get in line. You got to pay your dues. But next halving, it's going to be absolutely bonkers when a public company proves that Bitcoin it's a viable alternative to having fiat on their balance sheet. And on the nation state level, Nayib Bukele is going to prove that as well. And I'm very excited for other developing countries looking over at El Salvador and saying, holy crap, I like this a whole lot better than the whole IMF World Bank BS that's going on. Anyways, Bobo, you want to chime in on that before we pass it on to Opti?
Yeah, I'm a very loud opponent of the IMF, the World Bank, and that entire financial system that's been holding down not just Jamaica, not just the entire Caribbean, but the entire global South for a very long time. And if one country shows that kind of shining light where they can be independent of the loan sharks like the IMF, then I really feel like other countries will be brave enough to try for themselves as well. And the success is what we need to see. Like a example of success from El Salvador, for people to start doing that. For people who don't even need to know what Bitcoin is, to realize there's an alternative solution for being enslaved by the IMF.
100%. I completely agree with that. Completely agree with you. Opti, why don't you chime in, bro?
Yeah, well, first off, excuse me, shouts out to The Block, Jack Dorsey's company and everything they're doing. They're doing what in my opinion is a bunch of great work. I think there was some new news that dropped this morning. I haven't fully looked into it, but they are definitely leaning into the production and shipping of Bitcoin and Lightning infrastructure. And it's just beautiful to see more companies take that effort and take that baton upon themselves to help spread the Bitcoin adoption. And, echoing what you guys said, like Bitcoin, and I've been saying this for a minute, Bitcoin is going mainstream. And I think this next halving cycle is like, it's going to be very, very hard to avoid Bitcoin. Bitcoin is obviously going to be unstoppable. I think Bitcoin, the price is going to probably go a lot higher than we can imagine. And it's going to start to saturate popular culture in ways that we could only have dreamt of, when I came into Bitcoin 5-6 years ago. So I think we are really in one of the most important times to be a Bitcoiner. And I'm just thinking of like the idea of everyone saying that we're early to Bitcoin or you're not early to Bitcoin. And I just always kind of like, man, we are still so early in this Bitcoin experiment that I think this next cycle is really going to blow not only our minds, but like Bubba was saying, you know, just the average person's mind. And then everyone's trolling in the chat. Am I going to have to be the bad guy
No.
and point it out?
No,
okay,
it never
okay,
happened.
okay,
Never
okay,
happened.
never happened. Never happened. All right, next segment, Nico.
Next segment. All right, everybody, let's get to news. Let's talk about, you know, we do say it in the very beginning of the show. This is the separation of money and state. Well, looks like the state is fighting back a little bit. Well, it's obvious already, but on the other side of the pond, in the UK front, let's see what they're doing to, at least in their eyes, slow the adoption of Bitcoin. Anyways, let's check it out.
The Daily News.
Brought to you by Blockstream Jade, built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. It's an open source hardware wallet for the cold storage of Bitcoin. Blockstream Jade houses a full color camera, allowing for fully air-gapped Bitcoin transactions. Scan and display QR codes directly on the device to sign transactions and verify addresses with ease. Use your Blockstream Jade with your favorite wallet software, such as the Blockstream Green, Blue Wallet, Electrum, and Sparrow. Get yourself a Blockstream Jade today and take self-custody of your Bitcoin.
All right, everybody. So, you know, it's interesting because you would think that if you go to work, you earn money, you would be entitled to do what you want with that money. Right. And that doesn't seem to be the case in the eyes of a lot of powerful governments. And they would like to make you believe that they're coming to the rescue. It's for your own good. They're saving you because people are too stupid to make their own decisions. Right. So this is an article by Reuters. It's pretty old, but I think it really, really highlights how they feel about this. So Britain's nationwide curbs cryptocurrency purchases by customers. Nationwide said it will not allow payments to crypto exchanges using credit cards and will limit adult current accounts to 5,000 purchases per day. The Building Society said the move was in response to regulatory concern over the risk of buying cryptocurrencies. I would say that fiat currencies have more risk because it's inflation built in. If you live in a developing country and you don't have the financial privilege of living in a country with a relatively stable state currency and a relatively low inflation rate, I would say it's more of a risk to not buy something like Bitcoin. So talked about the UK front in the beginning, and this is a news that came out recently. Self-hosted wallet ban avoided in new draft of EU's anti-money laundering bill. Self-hosted addresses, formerly known as unhosted wallets in the European Union's policies, are back in discussion as European Parliament staff look to clarify that lawmakers do not want an outright ban on non-custodial services. Now, think about it that way, right? The fact that they don't want you to hold your own money and take self-custody of your own money. The fact that, you know, whether it's in Britain and, you know, an organization is saying, look, this is how much Bitcoin you can buy per day. In the European Union, it's like, oh, the lawmakers are allowing people to take self-custody. You know, how good of them, you know, how noble of them, how thoughtful of them. It's just such a ludicrous conversation. The conversation should be the other way around. Is like, why are there powerful bureaucrats that have the power to get to pick and choose what money you're entitled to use and what money you're not entitled to use, and whether you have the ability to take self-custody of that money. Anyways, privacy-enhancing crypto assets and anonymizing instruments, including privacy wallets or crypto mixers, may be prohibited under the current text of the anti-money laundering regulation draft bill, according to documents seen by the block. When it comes to rules on transaction limits, the latest version of the European Parliament's review of the anti-money laundering bill resulted in changing up the language to self-hosted addresses from self-hosted wallets. With this change, policymakers aim to clarify their objective of preventing non-custodial wallets from existing without being linked to an identified account on a crypto service provided like an exchange. The previous wording could have implied that crypto service providers in the EU would have been prohibited from providing non-custodial services altogether. I don't know about you guys, but I've never heard that term self-hosted address in the Bitcoin white paper. Never heard it. Don't know what it is. There's an address, you have the private keys for it, or you don't have the private keys for it. But the reason they have to frame it this way is it's very difficult for governments to control the money flows of millions upon millions of individuals taking self-custody of their Bitcoin, which is why we say on the show, if enough people take self-custody, we will win the peaceful revolution. There's absolutely nothing they could do about it. So they put pressure on intermediaries. So they need those intermediaries to exist. Anyways, self-hosted wallets will be subject to a transaction limit of €1,000 if the owner cannot be identified. This aligns with the TFR requiring originator and beneficiary data on crypto transactions of the same cap. So again, who are they going to put pressure on open source, hardware, software developers to implement that limit? Like, what's going on there? And it's a very, very slippery slope. Now, getting back to the UK, Bank of England's, right? So you're thinking about all these things, right? You're like, okay, like, why are they doing this? Here's an article by the Financial Times, The Surprising Effectiveness of Crypto Regulation. It goes on to say, right, how that the privilege of legitimacy interfering regulation must be conditioned on an adequate answer to the existential question of crypto. What is the purpose? I don't know. What is the purpose? I mean, if you ask a Nigerian, if you ask a Venezuelan, what is the purpose of Bitcoin? They'll be able to answer that very, very quickly. But again, it's the hubris. It's the way that they frame it. This is the way that they see it. These are people that have been used to having this godlike power of controlling money, setting the price of money, and all of a sudden comes something that they can't control. They can't make it go away, but they're using the same language. So I feel like they're coping. They're going through this coping phase of just looking at Bitcoin. Anyway, so moving on to the next article, says Bank of England, digital pound represents new frontier for payments. It goes on to say, central bank digital currency represents a new frontier for payments. The Bank of England's Deputy Governor for Financial Stability, John Cunliffe, has said. In a Treasury Committee session today, Cunliffe said that following the launch of a consultation from the central bank on digital currency this month, the bank was now preparing for the next stage for the introduction of a digital pound. So the theme is Bitcoin bad for safety, it's horrible, money laundering, crime, all of that stuff. Even though most payments are already digital and there's great payment platforms that already exist, we somehow need a central bank digital currency. And the tell is really in this phrase right here. If we just wait until we think it is needed, now we are 5 years behind. In my belief, in the belief of Simply Bitcoin, we believe that central bank digital currencies are a response to Bitcoin. They see the writing on the wall and they want to be able to maintain their privilege of creating money for free that everyone else has to work for. Another statement on Bloomberg. Bank of England official said digital pound, a big opportunity for business. A top Bank of England official has doubled down on claims that new technologies such as digital currencies could present lucrative new opportunities for business. Quote, the experience of digitalization so far is that new products and services enabled by new technologies can be adopted very rapidly at scale. I mean, what about Bitcoin? What's going on? I don't see how a central bank digital currency solves the problem as to why people are choosing to opt out in the first place, which is inflation. That's the value proposition. That is the alternative that Bitcoin provides. They don't talk about it. They don't even acknowledge it. They try to ignore it. They're not playing by the same rules. They're making the adoption of Bitcoin difficult. Like, it's very obvious. And then this goes back to a question that I was asking Natalie Smolensky yesterday on Simply Bitcoin IRL, which is, it looks like Bitcoin is exposing incentives like it always does. This time is no different. And I think it's highlighting that governments are not really by the people for the people. Governments are by the government for the government. And I think Bitcoin is just exposing that. And I think this whole facade of, oh, it's for your safety. Oh, it's for, stopping money laundering. But at the same time, trying to introduce a central bank digital currency, which will give these governments complete totalitarian control over society, like as in what's happening in China with the social credit system. they're just pushing that right forward. They're not acknowledging that money can exist without inflation. They're not acknowledging the downsides of central bank digital currencies. In fact, they're choosing to ignore them. And I think that is the biggest tell. Bobo, what are your thoughts on all this?
This is pretty close to home for me because you don't even have to look as far as China to see how it's affecting and what it's doing. The first Western nation state to have CBDCs as a national currency is Jamaica. We have it today, fully piloted and working right now, but you'd think that CBDCs is a response to something like Bitcoin that is inflation resistant and free. The CBDC is not even built on a blockchain. In Jamaica, the CBDC is built on a relational database that you can use in any other product. And it's also controlled by the Bank of Jamaica. It has a single point of failure. So all they've done is digitize the same dollar with the same inflation rate, and now they have control over how you spend the money because they can cut off a digital dollar at any point in time. The good news of this, which I like to talk about, is the grassroots part of this, is that it's been less than 2% adoption after a year and a half of aggressive marketing towards the Jamaican people. So I think there's still a chance that people realize CBDC is just to your point, Nico, a response to what Bitcoin is showing people, and people are still going to, in the long term, they're going to pick freedom over just another form of slavery.
100%. And that's exactly what it is. It's literally another form of slavery. And just because, they choose to try to sweep under the rug all the potential cons to central bank digital currencies, it doesn't mean that people aren't going to notice. And the example that I always give is what's happening in Nigeria, right? The Nigerian government, and I think that they definitely had pressure from the United Nations and the World Economic Forum and all that stuff. They released a central bank digital currency, but it's having very, very little adoption in the country. And then you have to ask, like, why is that? Well, if you live in a country with double-digit inflation, what does a CBDC solve? It doesn't solve anything. Right. I don't think it's meant to solve anything. I think it's an attempt to try to remain in control of the money. And I think that's what they're about. That's what they've always been about. And I think that they were a reaction to Bitcoin. I think they see it on the wall and it freaks them out, but they're misrepresenting themselves. They're lying. They're not being sincere about this. Anyways, Opti, what are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, first, I mean, I completely agree with Nico. We say this pretty much every single day, but I kind of wanted to touch on what Bobo said because I wasn't actually aware of Jamaica's CBDC, and we're also seeing the same thing happen in Nigeria, where I'm convinced that humans want freedom, and the fact that the governments continuously push CBDCs on their citizenry and there not being an adoption on it is just further proof to me that people are aware of what's going on, whether it's unconsciously, they can kind of see the writing on the wall. And again, I just reiterate, I believe humans want freedom, and any push by these bankers into a total surveillance system is, on the one hand, just more proof that we need Bitcoin. On the other hand, the fact that people are not going into the system willingly is just it gives me hope. Bitcoin or bankers are scared. And again, they're using the same low hanging fruit excuses that they always use. And it's just, in my opinion, any attempt to stop Bitcoin will further push Bitcoin. So it's just like the Barbara Streisand effect happening in real time. And it's just further proof. If your government doesn't want you to hold Bitcoin, that's just a glaring, obvious sign that you probably should be holding Bitcoin. Because, we ask a simple question on the show basically every single day. Why are we being forced globally to use money that is designed to steal from us? Why is this the status quo? Who is profiting off this? Obviously, we know who it is. It's the central bankers and the politicians, as we kind of call them, the unproductive class. But it's very obvious that the people that tell you not to use Bitcoin and who want to stop Bitcoin adoption, where their incentives lies. So, I wouldn't listen to these people. This is why we come out here every single day and counter the FUD. But there's one point, Nico, on that Fiat Times article, I forget what the headline was, but regulation is good for Bitcoin and shitcoins. I saw that this morning, and it was written by what's his name, Stephen Deal, the known Bitcoin skeptic. And for some reason, this guy is still being taken seriously after being debunked continuously. And they use him to just continuously parade his, research as like the holy grail of what is actually going on. And it's been debunked continuously, and yet he's still getting prime time, airtime on the Fiat Times. Again, just shows you where their incentives lie.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree with you. It's misrepresentations, man. Misrepresentations, spin, lies. The article that comes to mind is the article by Nayib Bukele. Their most powerful tool is the control of truth. And I think that's really the only way that they can convince people to use a money that steals from them. Anyways, Bobo, you're quite a traveler, my friend. What have you seen in your travels about the reaction to CBDCs and the current state of Bitcoin adoption around the world?
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent, like you said, Nico. I mean, everywhere we're seeing top-down pushes of CBDCs, marketing everywhere across Africa, and people are talking about it in Europe, in South America, and in the Caribbean, specifically in the Caribbean. But at the same time, nobody trusts it. As I talk to people around the world, every person already has a pretty significant distrust for governments in general, even if they do feel like they have their positive attributes, but they have a complete distrust over a new money a government's trying to push in general. And I think that's pretty helpful to me. Every country that I go to, no matter what the culture is, whether it's over in Africa, in different parts of South America, in the Caribbean, and in the US, in different parts of the country in the US, people are, I think you guys already spoke about the attempt that they made to create a CBDC or legislation for a CBDC in the US. So I feel like even in the US, people are realizing that CBDCs is not something that is going to happen. And if it does happen, it's not something that people are going to willingly accept or try to adopt without some kind of major motivation.
Yeah, 100%. And we always say on Simply, right, is, Bitcoin has incentives. That's why people adopt Bitcoin, right? And what governments are trying to use is they're trying to use their monopoly on violence. They're trying to use coercion to force people to use a money they decide, which is absolutely crazy. It's bonkers to me that this is the world we live in. But I mean, this is what the peaceful revolution is about. How are you feeling, Bobo, in terms of the global awareness, and if people are really awakened to this alternative? Because from my experience as content creators, that's one of the things that does keep me up at night a little bit, where just some people they continue, specifically in the United States, right? It's like, oh yeah, Doge is great. But people are really asleep to the actual shift in society that's happening, right? That people could, for the first time in history, use a non-state money that is deflationary in nature. And because it's deflationary in nature, all of a sudden, if people adopt a Bitcoin standard, their ability to plan for the future or look into the future is there. That you can't do that under a fiat standard, right? You're constantly having to work harder and harder and harder for less and less and less money. So how are you feeling about that specifically?
Yeah, it's such a hard question, right? But I'll take it back to kind of where I started, which is that the world we're so early. Opti said we're super early. We are really early from a global standpoint, from the way people are thinking about this. We are still in the internet TCP/IP. You better understand what an IP address is to use the internet phase. I don't even feel like we're in the AOL phase yet. I feel like when people think about Bitcoin right now, they're still thinking about something that a regular person can't understand without either dedicating some time to it or dedicating some kind of learning or dedicating some of their resources to it. And that resource that they have to dedicate to it, the average person doesn't have that available to them to dedicate in the first place. The average global South citizen doesn't have the 5 hours of time, or the 17 hours of of research to be able to understand what Bitcoin can do for their lives, because they're too busy with that 5 hours just surviving, just making it to the next day. So when you talk about the everyday person, I think we have to get to a point where Bitcoin is normalized to the point where the everyday person doesn't need to spend 5 hours to understand it. They don't even need to spend 5 minutes to understand it. When you can explain Bitcoin's like long-term, low-time preference benefits to a person in under 2 minutes, when Bitcoin gets to that stage of adoption, I think that's when the world is going to shift. That's when the tidal wave is going to come in. That's when you're going to see a radical change in the media's perception of Bitcoin, and a radical change in Bitcoin's price as a result of that.
100%. I 100% agree with that statement. Anyways, guys, before we get on to the culture to talk about Bobo's new YouTube channel, I want to tell you guys, remember, we say that the peaceful revolution is all about taking self-custody. I want to let you guys know about BitPlates. Check them out. Comes in this beautiful box. Steel titanium plate. Don't back up your Bitcoin seed on paper. Don't be that person that stores their generational wealth and that generational wealth catches on fire, has water damage. Paper sucks. Back up your Bitcoin seed on marine grade and fireproof protection for seed words and passphrases. You can check out bitplates.com and you can use the promo code SIMPLY to get a big discount on BitPlate. Anyways, everybody, let's get to the culture. We have a lot to talk about. Let's check it out.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today.
Hey, what happened here? There we go. Sorry about that.
All right, guys. Well, this is the culture. This is when we bring up awesome friends doing awesome work in the Bitcoin space. And we got literally one of my good friends, Bobo Dread, here, and his podcast, One Love Bitcoin. So first and foremost, Bobo, what's the goal with One Love Bitcoin? Like, what are your intentions? What is the ethos of everything that you're doing over here?
Yeah, man. It's all about love, one love. But really the goal is something that me and Corey from Swan cooked up a couple years ago. I always shout out to Corey for getting me started, because I probably wouldn't have, leapt off the cliff on my own. But the goal ended up being trying to talk to one Bitcoiner from every single country, every recognized country we have in the world, and get their opinion on Bitcoin, get their opinion on Bitcoin impacting their country, even learn about their country in general, learn a thing or two about, how it is living there, how it is traveling there, and then music. So connecting the culture by music, by Bitcoin, and by people, and just trying to make a big, I guess you can say, a global mesh of interviews where people can, if you ever wanted to know what was going on in a country, you can just go hit that interview, and it'd be a nice little library, I guess, a passion project. I'm really happy that I started it, and it's going to be a long time before I finish it. But at the same time, I'm learning so much along the way. Like, I'm learning about so many different cultures and so many different issues that people have that we don't even recognize because we're in the West, or we're in the South, or we're in a first world country. So I'm really happy that I'm able to do it, and I'm hoping I can share that knowledge with everyone at the end of this journey.
What countries, Bobo, before I hand it back to Opti, what countries did you find the most interesting in your travels? Like, what are some stories that you could tell us that just absolutely blew your mind that you would never think would be possible?
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, every country has its own specific, surprising thing to it. Venezuela was one of the big ones, but that one, you'd expect a lot of different stories out of there. The one thing that I didn't realize was so strong was the African stories, the story from Senegal and the story from Togo. I think those two hit me the hardest, because I didn't realize exactly how much the fiat structure was globally oppressive. Like, I knew that, the world reserve currency and the petrodollar, but I didn't realize that the CFA franc actually controlled 15 countries in Africa. I didn't realize that in Togo, It's still like a straight up family that runs the country for 2 generations as a dictatorship, as a tyrant, So things like that you think were, all like what I say, old. Like it's not current events. It happened 50 years ago and they probably fixed all that. No, that's still happening today. There's still slavery today, like real slavery that we're not talking about. And as I learned these things, I realized that the world is dark, but it's also beautiful and open for us to learn. And yeah, I would say that if anybody wants to listen to a really strong episode, should listen to my Togo episode with Farida Nabarema. It's a really strong episode that gives you an idea, a glimpse into the different cultures that we're not even aware of on a daily basis.
Hell yeah. That's
I love
so
it.
Inspirational.
So, Bobo, are you actually traveling to all these countries or just like zooming in?
Half and half. I sometimes just zoom in, or if it's close by, I'll travel. Like I went to Guatemala. I did my El Salvador interview there. A lot of my Africa interviews happened when I was over in Africa at the Africa Bitcoin conference. So it's half and half, I would say. If I can go, I'll go. It's all self-funded, so I go when I feel the need.
Let's go. Awesome,
Yeah,
dude. Awesome. So, I mean, we kind of covered the same angle in regards to the CBDC, but in your experience, how have people embraced Bitcoin all around the world? I know we're definitely, US centric, and we always cover the adoption of Bitcoin around the world, and we try to get people on the boots, on the ground, talking to Bitcoin, telling us what's going on. But what has been your experience? I know you kind of said it, well, and we'll talk about what you're doing back home, but you kind of touched on it as well, that, the adoption of Bitcoin is a slow process. But what's been your overall experience? And we kind of touched on it. You're like, we are so early to this.
Yeah, we are. It's like there's hot spots and then the rest of the world is almost dark, basically. There's like in Europe, there's a lot of places that are still under the arm of the EU and the World Bank and the European Bank. So there are dark spots, but then there's bright spots like Prague. Like Prague in the Czech Republic is like, they're known for so much stuff that is strong Bitcoin community. Trezor is a company out of there. Brains Pool comes out of there. A bunch of different companies that of, like a Bitcoin ATM company comes out of there. So there's a bright spot there, and then there's like most of Africa, it doesn't have internet. So talking to different places there, like down in Namibia, most of Namibia doesn't have access to internet. So there's not much Bitcoin activity. But then Nigeria is like a hub for internet activity. It's bright, and then Machankura, which is out of South Africa, they're creating a way that people can use Bitcoin without being on the internet, just using text messaging. So that's, there's a lot of really bright spots like that I'm realizing are in there, but they're still just localized bright spots. And then everywhere else in that country is still pretty early. Like they don't even know what Bitcoin is yet. If they do, they've heard of it as a scam. So I think that's what I mean by we're early. I mean that there are these seeds that are growing that are going to become multi-million person communities, but they're still like in this very nascent phase, and they're all growing pretty fast. Like every single person I speak to, you can tell that there's a massive movement happening there. It's just in the beginning phases, and I think that's where we are globally. I think globally everywhere is massive and everywhere is just starting.
So bullish on Bitcoin. It really blows my mind that people think we are late to Bitcoin, when I have one simple question to most people. It's like, look around you, go like walk outside. How many people do you talk to on the daily that are Bitcoiners? And like, not that many, man. So it's really incredible that people think they're still late to Bitcoin. And, it kind of reminds me of what you said right now. It's, what's been like, what's your go-to, like 2-minute Bitcoin rant to people? Is it different in the first world versus in the third world? Like, what's the angles you usually hit?
Man, in the third world, it's different. In not even third worlds. There's no like third world, first world is all made up words. Like we're people, we live on land, and some people live on ocean. But the point is, my usual rant to people, especially if they're just new to it or they don't know about it, or they always want to know, how can I make some money? Like, how is this going to help my life right now? And the first thing I say is, well, if you're using remittance right now, it's going to help your life immediately. You don't even need to care how it's going to help your life. You can know that it will. and you want to use it. And if they're not doing remittance, then I always say, okay, well, the only thing you need to now is look at now is a supermarket. How much did you pay for your chickens last week? How much did you pay for your eggs last week? How much did you pay for your milk, your cheese, your bread? Like when you added up your grocery cart, was it more than last year? Was it more than last month? And if you want to keep on living that way for the next 10 years, you don't need to know anything I'm saying. If you would like to change that and not have it continue to go up over the next 10 years, you probably should listen to what Bitcoin is. And that usually snaps them right out of it because they feel that pain. They're like, okay, I don't know what he's talking about, but I know I paid more for chicken and groceries. I need to hear what he has to say. And then from there, the rabbit hole. The rabbit hole is a deep, deep, dark hole with a shining light at the end, with glory at the end.
Yeah, 100%. And there's something Nico actually kind of like brought to my attention as well. The powers that be can try to hide inflation via CPI numbers or whatever, official mandate, but you can't hide the sticker shock of going to the store consistently and everything you need to buy is getting more expensive. And I say all the time, like, I think, bad monetary policy, bad central planning is usually the best marketing for Bitcoin, because people just are like, someday we'll wake up to what we know to be the truth. Like, why is my money buying me less things? Maybe I should be holding something that holds its value. And this is some of the best ways to continuously orange pill. But Bobo, what do you have coming down the pipeline? Can you do a little sneak peeks? Some teasers? Where are you moving to next?
Oh man, it's been such a great journey so far. I have a couple more European places that I'm going to. You might be touching on Israel. That should be a really interesting conversation. Might be a little controversial. I'm going back to many places in Africa that I really want to touch on. So this might be a pretty African-centric year, but we're going to have some surprises along there too. So stay tuned. I'm going to start doing some shorts as well, just to make sure people can get the really cool content out of it. But in general, it's a passion project, man. So if people want me to go somewhere, message me. Just tell me where you want me to go. I'll find somebody from that country and we'll dig into the culture together.
Let's go. Love to hear it. And then also, Bobo, tell us what you told us in the beginning. What are you doing back home right now? What's your efforts doing right now?
Trying to start a community here in Jamaica. It's been long enough. I've been doing all my research. I have a damn near PhD in Bitcoin. So now it's time to start, spread the love, get a community going here, get a meetup started here, and, maybe get some people giving back from our community too. I mean, it's going to help us all in the end. So I want to do my share from my own home country.
I love it, bro. I've had kind of the same thoughts. It's like, I do so much on the internet. Maybe I should bring it back a little bit into, my friends and family a little more and start orange pilling them a little harder.
Yeah, man.
Anyways, Nico, tee it up.
Yeah, man. Guys, don't stop right now. Stop the video, press pause, and go check out and subscribe to Bobo's YouTube channel. Just relaunched. Check it out. One Love Bitcoin. You search it, it will pop up. And again, it's a good take. I love my personal favorite, and I'm extremely biased with this, and I acknowledge it because culturally, originally, my family and I are from Venezuela. So the Crypto Bastardo video or an episode that you did really, really hit close to heart. And very, very unique show. Love the vibe. Love the reggae incorporated in there as well. So guys, stop right now. Subscribe to Bobo's YouTube channel. Anyways, everybody, let's get to the meme review. Lots of memes to go over.
The Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Kaboom Racks. I get this question all the time. Nico, where should I buy Bitcoin miners? The answer is Kaboom Racks. It's the best place to buy Bitcoin miners. That's where you're going to find the best deals and the best prices. Start your mining utopia today. To check out their racks, you got to go to t.me/Kaboom Racks. Join their Telegram group and start your mining journey today. Kaboom Racks.
Kaboom.
Getting trolled in the chat. Let's go.
Kaboom.
All right. Well, you already know This is the meme review. This is your favorite portion of the show. I say it all the time to troll Nico. You guys watch the news just to watch the memes. Anyways, you already know what I say every single day. We are in an information war, hence why it is so important to continue to make the memes, continue to orange pill your friends and family, because we are battling a $1 trillion PSYOP campaign against you to use money that steals from you. And all we have is the truth on our side and truth in art form, which is the memes. So tweets are the bullets, memes are the artillery, and continue to tag us in the memes, continue to drop the memes in our Telegram group, and I will cover them. So this first one is by @21JCLP. Shouts out to you, bro. And he goes, once you enter Bitcoin, there is no going back. Hashtag Bitcoin 24/7. And we got this, human walking into the void and then walking into the Bitcoin black hole, the Bitcoin rabbit hole that has no bottom. And here where we are, guys. This is what we're all doing. We're all in the Bitcoin vacuum right now. Anyways, this next one, shouts out to Maxie's Club, and he just goes 40. And it goes, we gotta, I don't know what this is, dude. You gotta, hey, Maxie's Club, tag me. What are these characters? Are they frogs? Is this a duck? I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me. It's yellow. Yeah. So those who didn't invest, he's looking at his computer, squinty-eyed, like, I'm going to wait for 10K, guys. The Bitcoin price is coming down. I'm going to buy a whole coin once the price comes down. Huddle to that feeling. And then he turns into a skeleton waiting for Bitcoin price to go down because it is only going up forever, Laura. Anyways, this next one by my buddy @Ropium. And he's got some pictures here of different organs, different body parts. And we got lungs, and goes, I breathe air for you. And we got a heart. I pump blood for you. And we got a liver. I filter waste for you. And then we got a brain, and it goes pencil, sand, toaster, wheel, green, lock, safe, high, vein, 12, Cloud Street. If you know, you know. And if you don't, your brain's only useful for storing your Bitcoin private seed. Shout out to Rope. All right, this next one by @GregZaj1. It goes, buy Bitcoin, coinbits.app ambassador. There's a link here. I don't know. At the Meme Factory. And it goes, if you can't describe your value prop in 3 words, you have a bullshit product. And we have bullshit number 1. Proof of stake derives its value from the triple point asset. Bullshit number 2. The best part of a timeshare is scheduling. Bullshit number 3. If you buy this shitcoin, then I promise I'll say you own that money, that monkey JPEG. Real fuck banks with laser eyes. Let's go. This next one, again, Nico's memes or BTC therapist memes. We have Bitcoiner, or the Bitcoin price, pushing a rock up a hill, and it goes up. It's going up forever, and we got the Bitcoin price at $100, Bitcoin price at 20K, Bitcoin price at 69K, and then we got the dip at 25K, and yet it is still going up forever. And like over here, you just wait, man. Just wait. Just hodl to that feeling. Hit it again, Nico. Hit it again. Don't stop believing. I got it. Don't stop believing. Huddle to that feeling. All right, this next one, I got roasted on the Twitter timeline like I get roasted in the YouTube chat. This one is by Monocle Mustache. I don't know. Sorry, bro. I can't read. Anyways, he goes, here's a meme for your show, Simply Bitcoin. Hope it doesn't offend Opti. No, this is part of the business. This is part of the job, getting roasted. It is what it is. And we got my face on top of the most interesting man in the world holding a Bitcoin. And it goes, I'm not always optimistic on all assets, but I'm always optimistic on Bitcoin. Stack sats, my friends. Let's go. Yes, we stay optimistic on Bitcoin. Okay, so drop your meme review score meme review score in the chat, and we will review it live in the meme review section of the show. I don't know, I butchered. No, wait. Wait, do you put the music on for our scores or their scores?
All of it. All of it.
Anyways,
we need dramatic music during the score.
Honestly, Becca was trolling me yesterday. She was missing the dramatic music. Anyways, my meme review score is my cup of water.
Cup of water. Opti gives it a cup of water. I'm going to give it the BitPlates Domino. Put your seed on a metal backup. Look how thick this thing is. Look at this. It's not going to go anywhere if you put your seed on here. Don't use paper. Don't use paper. Paper bad. Anyways, Dread, what would you give those memes?
I'm going to give those memes a Mastering the Lightning Network book wrapped in an N95 mask.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Interesting.
That was complex. It was a complex.
There's a
Layered.
complex mean. There's layered. Anyways, let's get to some of the scores, Opti. Hodl coin. I give the memes a Noster private key. All right. The P-Man Van, my score. Me scheduling all my recording sessions around Simply Bitcoin. Need my daily hopium.
Let's go.
Yeah, straight into the veins. All right, Elaine. I give the memes 21 million love to Bobo. Very nice, very nice. Igor. I give the memes a massive Bitcoin sound clash. Do we have that? No. Mr. Robot rating the memes. We are early that Bitcoiners are still on legacy apps. Okay, nice. And we got time for one more score. 3/4 accidental public farts. And that's the bubber, followed by one real and accidental.
The sound clash needs the horns. Whenever you hear a sound clash,
There we go. All right, guys. Also, check us out on Simply Bitcoin's Telegram group. Shout out.
Wait. One more by Rope. Shouts out to Rope. He was trolling me last night.
One Opti Lemons TV script. Okay, if you know, you know. Simply Bitcoin's Telegram group's absolutely free. Go to t.me/simplybitcointv and check out our blog. We're dropping unfiltered news. Simplybitcoin.news. It's absolutely free, but you can't subscribe if you really want to support us. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. We appreciate you guys and your support. I want to give a shout out to Bobo. Bobo, where can people find you online? And I would ask you what you're working on nowadays, but I think you explained that.
No, I can shout it out there. You can find me at Pole Vault Dream on Twitter. You can also find me as Dread on Noster, because that's where we all are now. And I'm working on a Lightning wallet. I'm actually going to be building a Lightning wallet in Jamaica for my people. So look out for Flash, but also host of One Love Bitcoin. Just come on over, come chat. I'm always looking for new countries. For anybody who has a new country want me to go visit or zoom into, send me a message. And also big shout out to not only Simply Bitcoin, but all the people that are in the backstage of Simply Bitcoin, like Darth Coin specifically. You got some G's in there. I love them all. They've helped me with so many of my projects. So Simply Bitcoin community is huge, guys. So if you're not in there already, get in there. Love y'all. One love.
Thanks, Bobo. Thanks for joining us today. Guys, subscribe to this man's YouTube channel. Such unique content. Absolutely love it. Search One Love Bitcoin on YouTube. Anyways, we love you all. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. You know what to do. If you enjoyed the episode, smash that like button. If you feel like we provided you value, consider subscribing. And the number one thing you could do to help this channel, in fact, help the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, is share this video. In fact, share all Bitcoin content. We love you all. The party continues until 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, about 50 minutes. We're holding down a Twitter Spaces with our friends over at swanbitcoin.com. Best place to stack sats. So if you want to join it, Opti's going to be holding it down. Maybe Bobo joins us as well as a guest. Love you all. See you tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.